Welcome to another edition of In Between the Zone, y'all. I am your boy Drizzy Dre, Mr. One and Only, the honey in her tea.
Goofy.
The honey in her tea.
Goofy.
Well, I guess I don't drink tea then, because I wouldn't want your honey.
Yuck. Why are we doing this? You started this.
I mean,
once again, you started this.
Well, Byron likes to say the straw that stirs the drink.
Oh my gosh.
I think that's my favorite one.
I signed up.
I think they're all good.
Hey, look, y'all. This is the original crew of the Flex Zone here in the building.
Wow. It's been a minute, guys.
Yes, but we gotta take care of some house rules though. First, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Flex Zone. Just put in The Flex Zone Podcast, and we'll pop right up.
The first one.
Go like our Facebook page, and of course, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at The Flex Zone 1. And if you have any questions, ideas, or possibly want to be a guest, send an email to theflexzone1@gmail.com. I am the Black American Dream on IG. My brother Crevonte
Hurde, CREVONTEHURDE, Facebook, Twitter, and Crevonte _Hurde.
I knew it was coming.
Instagram, bang, bang, bang.
And then of course, the Queen.
You're too kind.
I'll let you go ahead. And
she's bringing her goofiness with her too. Okay.
She means, honestly, this woman means a lot to us, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, she is one of the original members of our show. We wouldn't be where we are today without her. So I will hand it over to the Queendom.
You're too kind. These guys are amazing, though. I wouldn't be anywhere I am without them. Thank you for letting me be the host of the show and trusting me with the daily show.
It was a struggle.
You created a monster.
Now tell the people where they can find you.
I am the host of your favorite sports podcast, Roaming the Airways, Rolling with Ramos. Shout out to the best co-host ever, my friend, my boy, my compadre, my amigo. How many ways can I say it? Tristan Morris. He's out there. Shout out to him. Make sure you roll with the Ramos every week by going to SoundCloud and typing in Rolling with Ramos. You can also go to iTunes, look up the Working Class and Podcast, and Rolling with Ramos pops up. We are on @Rolling with Ramos on Instagram. We are on Twitter at Rolling with Ramos. And you can follow me in my everyday on IG at Mykell Sade. That's MYKELLSADE, all together, just like the singer. Thanks, Mom. And yeah, make sure you roll with Ramos. I mean, thank you for everybody who's already been participating in this ride. And if you haven't got on it yet, please make sure you do and make it pretty interesting.
Second favorite.
I say, well, I mean,
your favorite sports podcast, Roaming the Airways.
Number 2.
Let's not be goofy with this. Okay? Let's not be goofy with this.
You get them.
Oh, you gonna take it? Don't play. Get off my car. Get off my car.
America, once you tune in, you'll already see the inevitable. We don't need to prove anything here. Who am I?
Well, let's get right to it.
Thank you.
What we came here to do is what we've been doing from the jump. Talk some sports.
All right.
And in honor of Mykell being here, we want to ask this question: is Allen Iverson the greatest basketball player to have never won a ring?
You're asking me first.
Yes, ladies go first.
Absolutely.
I want to. Can I take a back seat and go second? I want to hear what you guys have to say first.
Sure.
I know it's unconventional.
Allen Iverson, great, phenomenal basketball player, but I think it has to go to Karl Malone.
The mailman.
The mailman. I mean, 2-time MVP. Averaged 25 points, 10 rebounds his entire career. Still is second all-time in points. 4-time all NBA defensive team. 14-time NBA selection. A 14-time All-Star. I mean, Allen Iverson was great in his own right, but I think as far as if we rank them side by side, I think it's Karl Malone, and it's Karl Malone by like a landslide.
I think it's weird to put Allen Iverson in this conversation. Granted, he's in the conversation because he's he's an NBA player that's without a ring, and of course we think about his greatness. But at the same time, when you think of Allen Iverson, you think of a career that still could have been. So but a career that could have been that he stood in his own way, unfortunately, to help it decline. Allen Iverson still at some point had years until he could have gotten a ring somewhere. So if he would have been able to embrace not being Allen Iverson anymore. I mean, and if I always say this, is this if Allen Iverson would just have a conversation with somebody, but we're not going to bring him up.
You know, because he doesn't have a ring either.
Yeah, he doesn't have a ring either.
But he's not in this conversation.
But he also doesn't embrace his new role of what he is. So it's kind of in conjunction. Yes, I'm talking about Carmelo Anthony. But I'm not going to get into Carmelo Anthony.
I knew Crevonte was waiting for
I am Melo. But anyways, no, when you talk about Allen Iverson... Hey.
Super goofy.
When you talk about Allen Iverson, you remember his greatness. You remember how iconic he was. You remember the littlest guy on the court with the biggest heart.
Absolutely.
You remember, I mean, I know everybody talks about Tyronn Lue having the last laugh and winning championship, but at the same time, I will remember the step over before I remember anything Tyronn Lue has ever gotten over Allen Iverson. But
absolutely. There's a poster with that.
When I found the shirt, when I get the money, I will have it on eventually. But at the same time, Allen Iverson, throughout his career, you always wondered when he was going, the maturation process, when it was going to fully take place. Now, when you talk about Karl Malone and you talk about guys like John Stockton, you talk about guys in that way, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, you talk about everybody to that degree. You talk about people that they were so great, but even their greatness was stopped by one man, one band, one sound, Michael Jordan. And and in this league where everybody's joining each other, we don't understand how big Michael Jordan was back then, to the point of you had to get through him. There was no way that you were going to win that championship if you couldn't get past Michael Jordan. We can honestly say that Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, all these guys will always be revered as the greatest top 50 players of all time, but you will never say that they were bad because they didn't win a ring. We would say that in this day and age. But then you would never say. You would always just have to pay homage to the fact that they played in an era where Michael Jordan played, and then that was it, and that's all.
And I think that's what makes it, okay.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing got stopped at least 5-6 times in the 90s before, like, whether it be in the first round, second round of the Eastern Conference. And, Michael Jordan just did what he did, because once 91 happened, it was no stopping Mike.
But, I mean, we're talking about Allen Iverson. And when you talk about other greats, I mean, you said Karl Malone is on that list. I mean, what about some, like, a player like today, like Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook? I mean, we're talking about Allen Iverson. Is he the greatest to have never won a ring? I mean, I'm thinking about Allen Iverson. To me, he is the greatest to have never won a ring. And I'm thinking about Allen Iverson not even just for the MVPs or the scoring title. I'm thinking about what he was able to do in the finals. The fact that he was able to beat Shaq and Kobe. He at least got you one. As much as I sit up here and praise LeBron James, Allen Iverson got you one.
And never complained about who he had behind him.
And also,
never sat in a press conference and said they didn't give it to me.
And that was one of the greatest. That Lakers team, they went 15-1.
Yeah,
that was the one and only loss.
And they didn't expect that.
And it was by Allen Iverson. But you know what? A point, something you didn't touch on. I mean, Allen Iverson changed the culture.
No, that was actually going to be my next point.
Of basketball. I mean, he basically made shorts longer. He wore street clothes to his press conferences, coming into the game, after the game. It didn't matter. And I mean, I tell you all the time, he probably single-handedly made hair a thing, but all his braids and his different styles.
He's everybody's favorite uncle that could still wear his hair and rock them. He's still wearing the same thing because
I'm just saying everybody wanted those braids. Everybody wanted designs and things like that. So that's a whole nother thing he brought to NBA, which was style.
Yeah.
So I mean, in that sense, sure, but I mean, if we're talking strictly basketball, I gotta go with Karl Malone.
I mean, you gotta bring all that into totality. I mean, it's similar to with the Lakers and Showtime, why people revere Magic so much because of how iconic Magic was, both on and off the court. And Allen Iverson is the same way. There will never be another Allen Iverson, and I think that's why we had to pose this question. So
that's fair. It's a fair question. But Karl Malone was a scoring machine.
He was.
Mailman.
I mean, but like I said, I mean, there are other players today. I mean, we can go down the list. I mean, there's the Chris Webbers, the Reggie Millers. I mean, there's so many John Wallers on. I mean, your boy
Reggie Miller,
Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony.
But when you talk about these guys, the same things. When you talk about these guys, the same thing stands though. You talking about Chris Paul. Chris Paul Sorry, Chris Paul, because every time your guys, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo, you talking about guys like, you talk about these type of guys that are in your draft class, every time he gets LeBron able to get in a conversation that takes him to the level of where they've been able to go, he pulls a hamstring. And it's like every time he gets
It's on cue.
Every time he gets to the point to take his career or go to the next level. And it sucks that we're talking about Chris Paul going to the next level. But every time we talk about him going to the next level, something happens. You talk about Anthony Davis, who's still fairly young and still has things to figure out. You talking about Russell Westbrook, who at this point of his career, and everybody's talking about Paul George and Carmelo, I think it's easier to blame the new guys on the block, but at the same time, these guys came to help you. You didn't, no pay cuts, no nothing taken. But what are you going to do to adjust with what you have now? I mean, it's different in the league where we had Kevin Garnett, and Kevin Garnett finally got the help he did. Yeah. He was taking pay cuts and adjusting to these guys that were with him. This league is a little bit different. Whereas when you talk about older guys, I mean, just how much more can you go down the list? You always have to bring into the conversation how the 90s were dominated by one man. Allen Iverson still had a chance to go somewhere and be a timeless veteran. We will never get a chance to see him in that role. And if Allen Iverson was if he always talks about me saying something to the guy I used to be. If he was able to be who he is now, then he might have been able to have more of a longevity within this league.
I mean, but you also got to factor in this man was hurt. I mean, the number of injuries he had, like with his finger, his ankle injuries, like, and he was out there.
You have to respect him for.
And
he
was little. And I'm gonna say, and the fact that he was 6 feet, and I don't even know if he was actually 6 feet. So all of his injuries just compiled, but he just kept coming and coming and coming. So you have to, there's nothing but respect for him. And you know, unfortunately, they did the 50 greatest players, I believe, in 1996, and you know, he just so happened to walk in the door. So I'm pretty sure if we do our next 50, he's definitely on that.
He makes
it. He's definitely on
the top dog, but always the underdog.
Remember, he shook Jordan
twice.
So I mean, when you say you shook
was
Jordan,
fearless in that. The top dog who's always the underdog. We can always and you almost forget, like, we always talk about Allen Iverson with basketball, but everything coming out Virginia. You talking about Michael Vick. You talking about guys like Cam Chancellor. Like, look at Virginia. He played football. Pretty good. Darn good football.
Pretty good
player.
athlete.
He's all around great athlete.
Bubba Chuck.
Good old Bubba Chuck.
Yeah.
Well, this concludes our talk with Allen Iverson. There's more on the other side of this break. This is In Between the Zone with the originals of the crew.
America, what's up? I am the host of your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airways, rolling with Ramos. Make sure you roll with the Ramos every week by going to SoundCloud and iTunes, people. Shout out to the best co-host to ever do it, Tristan Morris, my good friend. I'm nothing without you, brother. This ain't really about rolling with Ramos right now. I know I'm giving the whole promo here, but when the Flex Zone calls, when my brothers call, I come.
Yes, he does. Yes, we appreciate you, Mykell, for
yes,
shouting out the Flex Zone.
Oh, you're so amazing.
You know, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Put in the Flex Zone podcast. We are what, brother?
The first one.
Yes, and then go ahead and like our Facebook page, The Flex Zone, where you can catch In Between the Zone every Friday at 7 p.m.
Goofiness.
And then after you do that, make sure you roll with the Ramos still every week.
Did you just try to box us out?
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
Roll with the Ramos.
And we swagging, we surfing. Yes, y'all, we are back here, my man, with the elbows up, like
She always have to mess up nothing.
Mykell over here, about to box him out. The originals were back, y'all, for part 2 of In Between the Zone. On the first part, we talked about Allen Iverson. Right now, before we even jump into our topic, of course, we gotta take care of our home rules. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Flex Zone Podcast. Subscribe to the Flex Zone Podcast. It is what, Crevonte?
The first one.
And then make sure that you like our Facebook page And also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at the Flex Zone 1. If you have any questions, ideas, or possibly want to be a guest, send an email to theflexzone1@gmail.com. I am the Black American Dream and the Honey in Her Jack.
The Black American Goofy. That's a you. That's a you gonna be.
I wish that
you the
line
Black
wasn't a part of the
American
show.
Goofy.
Well, why don't you tell them the goofiness of your name? CEVE.
You just
_
you misspelled my name on purpose. CREVONTEHURDE, Facebook, Twitter, and Crevonte _Hurde on Instagram.
Boom. It's like that song.
No, it's not. It's not like that song. Independent. No, it's not like that. It's not like that song at all.
That's what we're
Clock
going to
is
do.
dead every 5 seconds when you run.
She always gets that wrong.
Can you just tell what are you pausing for? Tell the people like where they can find you. You just
Anyways, I was just waiting for my turn. Anyways, you can roll with Ramos, your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves by going to @RollingWithRamos on Twitter, and you can follow us on Instagram. Don't worry about what these guys say. Trust me, it's all about me. I am the best co-host ever in the world, Tristan Morris. We do this every week. And if you want to follow me personally, trust me, I keep it pretty interesting for you. You can follow me on Instagram at Mykell Sade. That's MYKELLSADE, like the singer. Roll with Ramos. You won't be disappointed. Trust me.
Well, I don't know if you're the best host because, you know, my man Byron, he does like to say that I am the bar. I don't set it because I am it.
I set the bar.
He says...
You just happen to at least try to...
Have it on hand. Always have it on hand.
Always just happen to...
He says that I am the straw...
to limbo under it. You'll never be me.
I am the straw that stirs the drink.
That's the topic. The goofy that stirs the more goofy.
I'm David Ruffin.
Oh, Lord.
You're nothing without David Ruffin.
On that note, we want to ask you guys, and chime in with comments, we want to ask, what is Sean Taylor's legacy? Sean Taylor, who died of a gunshot wound in the hospital at the age of 24. Mykell, this is your boy. You love talking about some Sean Taylor, and we know you love you some Washington football, or as I like to call them, the WFC.
And yet we
the
still
Washington
have to
Football Club.
his team.
Washington Redskins.
This is the patchwork quilt of teams here. He's made up of all things bilingual when it comes to sports.
He's the NFL Shield.
All right. if the Shield,
that's a good one. That's a good one.
If the Shield was a United Nations, that would be you when it comes to your teams.
Look, let me clear it up for the people here. Again, when I do this,
you like them big,
when my hand goes up.
Oh my gosh, Thanos, no!
When my hand goes up, their mouths go shut.
Please.
I am a fan of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, my fellow companion, up 95.
Actually, it's down 95.
Whatever.
If you want to get technical. Legacy of Sean Taylor, I think it's a legacy that we already see. One of the most hardest hitters that ever played the game. I mean, you never knew where he was coming from. This man came off the bench in Miami with a team with the whole team that all of them became Hall of Famers. All of them got into the league.
Think about that. He came off the bench
in a Miami Hurricane squad that had the likes of Ed Reed on there. In his career, he would have been one of the top safeties in this generation. And when he died, he was in his prime. I don't know anybody that can even live up to what Sean Taylor was and the hard hitting and the careers he took out. Shout out to Troy Aikman. And it's almost as if in a league where we just saw the retirement of Cam Chancellor, we also had Sean Taylor. And he's unparalleled. You can never duplicate him. And he was in his prime and lost too soon. And praying to God rest his soul, of course, from a human aspect, but you're praying to the football gods because the Redskins secondary has not been the same since he has left it.
God, it's been 10 years.
It's been too long.
I mean, how do you replace somebody like that? In 2007 was by Sports Illustrated, like you said, the hardest hitting player in the NFL. I mean, you're talking about a guy. I know for us in Baltimore what Ed Reed meant to our secondary.
Sure.
So to Washington, what he meant to y'all secondary. And to be right there alongside Ryan Clark and that safety tandem. I mean, I can only imagine how you said, it's been 10 years.
That's crazy.
And y'all are still feeling the aspects of it.
Oh no, because Sean Taylor was, I guess, he went to the U, so they breed some wild bulls down there. So he was still a kid, still trying to find his way around. and he was just changing his life around. Just had a daughter, loved Miami, loved his family, and there's a quote that one of the greatest coaches of all time said by Joe Gibbs. He said, "God made certain people to play football. He was one of them." I mean, there's nothing. Nobody has anything bad to say about Sean Taylor. Anybody who's come in contact with him, whether it be former coaches, former teammates, current teammates at the time, Clinton Porter, Santana Moss, also Hurricanes. They raved about him. One of the best DBs in the league at the time, the biggest, fastest, had a rare combination that we probably will never see again. And more so than us losing a great football player, we lost a great man. And you know, daughter's going fatherless, and it's really hard, it's really tough, and it's very, very senseless what happened. And 10 years later, we're still, well, shoot, going on 12 years later, I think, coming this upcoming November will be 11 years, and that still hurts.
I don't know about you, but it's DC. You would think that DC, everybody know what Washington DC is, but in its own right, being from the area, it's small townish to a degree.
Yeah.
You when you see people make it out of DC and become these things, you're like, wow, they actually made it out of DC. Because when you look at DC, people don't really care about uptown and everything else that surrounds it. You mostly are concerned with the White House and everything that's happening from the judicial system, legislative, all downtown.
Goofiness.
Of course, but when it comes to DC, and I can watch Sports Center, and I can look on TV and watch shows like First Take. And 10, 11 years later, there's whole segments commemorating the life of Sean Taylor, coming from the DMV and being able to grow up watching him and him being like this madman to me and being so amazing. It brings joy to me to know that a Redskin, a Washington Redskin, will always be revered as one of the best. Say what you want, America, about the Washington Redskins. Call it what you want, like we don't know about ourselves. But Sean Taylor will always be one of the greatest safeties to ever put on a uniform.
To have a nickname, Niece, for a half man, half beast.
Crazy. The guy.
The length of the field. You don't know how he made certain tackles because he was purely at the end of it.
Truly a sideline to sideline defensive player could run any quarterback down, any running back down, and you feared him as a wide receiver going across the middle because he showed you more times than not that he'll pop you coming across the middle. So
he was the Legion of Boom by himself.
Yeah, just him. Because honestly, during that time period, outside of Sean Taylor, our secondary really wasn't that good.
No.
At the time,
but you can step across that line of scrimmage if you want to.
And this
can.
This is under Drew.
Shout out to Des Bryant that note.
This is under the who will probably be a part of your team, but
that's okay. You can go to the Giants.
Oh gosh,
you can go to the Giants.
But he played. This is a guy.
I know you want revenge on the Dallas Cowboys, but you can go somewhere else and get that.
This is a guy who played under Joe Gibbs. What does that entail for you guys as being from that area?
Like I said, Joe Gibbs is one of the best coaches, of all time, especially if we're talking football. Winning 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. That's a feat. I don't believe that's ever been done before. And he honed in on a player like Sean Taylor who was troubled at the time, but he saw something more in him. He saw something better in him that maybe Sean Taylor didn't necessarily see in himself. Yeah. And picking him, that was a pretty high draft pick. He was
the 5th overall in that 2004 draft.
That's a high pick, and on top of that, a safety at that point. DBs usually don't go that high, and he took a chance, and arguably one of the best draft picks he's ever picked.
And when you talk about Sean Taylor in the league now, where it's dang near flag football, you can cough on a guy and get a flag.
Stephen A. likes to say you can't pass gas.
And you're trying to figure out, can I hit at the knee, if I go for the ankles, if I go helmet to helmet. You got to understand, running at full speed, making the kind of tackles that Sean Taylor made, and he was smart. We have never heard, granted, he was home, at the time of his death, he was home nursing an injury, but you never heard of him banged up or anything like that. He picked and chose his spots wisely. He picked and chose when he was going to tag you wisely. Like, the hit meant something, and the hit was chronologically correctly done. you're not going to find somebody like that. It was almost the equivalent of if you run the correct route. He ran routes in defense that were just amazing. You didn't hear about his shoulders or anything else hurting him. And the hits that he made, when it was time to look at the review, if it was a penalty or not, you couldn't really call it because he legitimately made a hit. You just got called at the wrong time.
But listen, I will tell you, nowadays, he would get flagged up because there was a lot of brutal hits. It was a lot of them, like, all legal for the most part, but today, just because they look bad, he would have got flagged.
Oh, today's league, it was been pass interference all up and down this field.
But I'm sure he would have found a way to adjust because that's what he was doing in his short time in the NFL.
Well, we got to address the number switch from 36 to 21 when Fred Smoot went to the Vikings.
It's almost like the equivalent to the Black Mamba.
I knew you was going to go
because
Kobe.
I mean, 36 was the young man. He was the Bush. He was, he was still trying to find his way. But 21 was the man that I just had a daughter. I am someone in this league that you need to respect, and you can say what all these wide receivers can say what they want, talking all this trash, and yeah, okay, you can come across this line if you want to. Please do. I welcome you. Even Des Bryant respected him during his time and after his death. That was one guy when you lined up against him.
All wide receivers did.
All wide receivers. Besides the hits, I'm saying
you had to
say it. To come out and say it. So.
I mean, he's worth. In locker rooms and doing like film and things like that. Vince Wilfork has said that Bill Belichick points him out. Like when you play the Redskins, watch out for that guy. And this is Vince Wilfork, who plays defense, who doesn't need to know anything about what's going on the opposing team's defense. But Bill Belichick still went out of his way to say, hey, this guy, watch out for him. He's a maniac. But, I mean, 36 to 21, I think that's a good comparison to Kobe one because it showed growth. And plus, I like the nickname Hitman 21.
But we never got a chance to see 21 expand, unfortunately. But long live 2-1.
Little known fact, he had two middle names. Sean Michael Maurice Taylor.
I like the whole two middle name thing.
It's different.
Well, we liked you being on the show.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
No matter how much I dislike this and y'all interaction, it was fun.
Anytime,
and this is fun.
Anytime, all the time. If I can do it for you guys, I'll always be here. You wouldn't even be able to roll with me if it wasn't for that.
So tell the people.
Corny.
Tell the people one more.
I liked it, but I liked it.
He didn't even throw a goofy card.
I was gonna because that was heartfelt.
But that was from the heart.
That's why I didn't even touch it. Don't do it again, though.
So tell the people.
Where's the Full House music when you need it?
Oh God. So on that note, please tell the people where they can find you.
Oh, please, like I said, please follow me personally at Mykell Sade. It's MYKELLSADE, like the singer. Roll every week with your favorite sports podcast, roaming the airwaves. Rolling with Ramos. Please, at Rolling with Ramos on Instagram. We got to get those followers up. We got something posted for you every week. And we are on Facebook at Rolling with Ramos. Twitter. Shout out to my boy Tristan. We are coming up on episode 50 in September. We will commemorate 50 episodes. We made a year in February, so moving quite along.
Okay, proud of you. I done taught you well. And of course, you can find the flex.
Always trying to take credit for something.
Because I am the straw that stirs the
All right.
The vanilla and the Coke.
Yep.
But no, we gotta take care of home. Make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Flex Zone Podcast. You type that in the search engine, and it is what, my brother?
The first one.
Like our Facebook page, the Flex Zone, on Instagram and Twitter at the Flex Zone 1. And if you have any questions, ideas, or possibly want to be a guest, send an email to theflexzone1@gmail.com. Yes, I do say that very, very fast, and I like
just like your church,
the Greater Gethsemane Missionary Baptist Church. Shout out to them.
Wow.
Mykell Crevonte. The bar. We, as my boy Byron would say, we gone. Peace.